All right, guys, super excited to introduce you to Aurelio Puga, who's a licensed athletic trainer. He has been with Aptiva for a couple years now, and he's been a vital part in helping us build our athletic and sports development program. So we have a lot of different things that we utilize him for. And so I just wanted to introduce you guys to Aurelio and let him introduce himself, give him a quick background and story on kind of where he came from and what brought him to Aptiva. So, AP, welcome.
How's it going, guys? Quick background about me. Originally from California, moved to Kentucky when I was a baby. And yeah, fell in love with athletics, fell in love with sports at a young age. Ended up going to U of L for my undergrad in exercise science. That's kind of where I was more exposed to athletic training in that world, in that profession. Decided to get my master's degree in that. Got that in 2018. Started working with U of L with their men's soccer team after that for a stint. A lot of great experience working with Division One soccer, so that was a lot of fun. Went to the high school level where I was thrown into pretty much covering every sport they had. So a lot of experience with again, soccer, football, lacrosse, field hockey, pretty much any sport you can think of at the high school level. Really competitive, so it was a lot of fun to cover those games and things like that. Eventually took a position with Louisville City's academy teams and then moved up to the first team, worked with them for about a season and a half. And then I decided I looked into a different position, mainly because of the time constraints and things like that, and the demand of that higher professional level. But Aptiva had a great a new opportunity to kind of build a brand new program in the area, and I definitely wanted to be a part of that, and been here and been loving it ever since. So yeah, it's a little bit of extended background, but yeah, that's all my experience in athletic training.
No, that's awesome. I think, athletic trainers, they do a lot of different things in their profession. And so some may work in a work setting where they're doing a lot of work education, acute injury assessments, and things like that. And you got the high school level where they're involved with athletes, they're at the school all day, they're there late for events. Or you've got the clinical setting where there's support to PTs, MDs, and doing some medical assistant work on that side. And so tell us a little bit about like what you've done here with Aptiva, and how that might be unique or different than what you typically see in your profession.
Yeah, so essentially, we kind of started this sports medicine program from scratch, right? So we didn't have any relationships with the high school, and that's more of that traditional setting, like you mentioned, Simon, as far as game coverage, staying late for practices, things like that. Here at Aptiva, the biggest difference to me was the fact that, I could still do a lot of that outreach, like work with a high school setting, work with their sports, be there for games and things like that, and kind of build something different as far as the clinical side of things. So since I've started, we have a new position, a hybrid position that our other athletic trainer, Tony, has taken on. So he works with our neuropsychologist. He also does game coverage with our partner high school that we partnered with. And then my role is extremely unique and still kind of ever evolving. Again, in a clinical side of things, but it feels like I'm kind of my own provider, and there's things that I do that our practice laws have allowed us to do in the recent years. So things are evolving quickly in the profession, and it's fun to kind of be a part of that process.
Yeah, that's exciting. And so our most recent venture with you has been to work closely with one of the gyms that we partner with Empower Six. And I know they do a lot of sports performance training, and they've brought you on to collaborate with them on some sports science stuff. So can you tell us a little bit more about like what that looks like for you?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I guess something I kind of want to touch on, maybe the kind of flow here at Empower Six specifically, and how like my specific role in the moment versus like how it's going to evolve that way. But I'll just kind of get into it. So basically, my specific role here with Empower Six. So we partnered with the gym. Obviously, I work with Aptiva Health. So we have our sports physical therapist, Tommy. Okay, we have myself as the athletic trainer, and then we've got a great team of performance coaches that work with athletes in the gym space. So I think kind of distinguishing each individual role and how we kind of flow together is super important. So basically, most of the time, athletes are coming in to the gym space because they want to be better athletes, right? They want to run faster, they want to jump higher, they want to compete, they want to potentially go to the collegiate level and compete and be the best version of themselves athletically as they can. So I would say most of the time they're coming in to get a screen, movement screen, evaluation, and work with the performance coaches. Okay, so the performance coaches are certified strength conditioning coaches that are going to do those things. They're going to do general basic strength conditioning. They're going to do a lot of the baseline screening, and they're going to make you a better athlete. Okay. My specific role is I'm the person gathering the data, right? So I'm using the technology that we have here, and I'm giving that information to the performance coaches so they can program better. So strength conditioning is all about programming, all about timing, exercises, things like that. So I'm giving them objective data that they can use to make the best program for their athletes. Okay. On the other side of that, the other side of my role is going back to the traditional side of athletic training is injury screening and just kind of guiding people to the right answers when it comes to their injuries. So recently we had a lacrosse player that came in, hamstring strain. Parents didn't really know how to handle it. The kid could still play, but he's not playing fully. He's kind of, having to limit a lot of his time and things like that. So we had a good conversation. I was able to do some recovery techniques, and now he's feeling a lot better. Now, let's say the same athlete comes in. I try to work with them with recovery techniques such as cupping or dry needling, and they're not getting better. Then my job essentially then is to refer them to physical therapy where Tommy can do a much more detailed screen, spend a lot more time with them, and have a really structured plan to get them back to play and do targeted exercises, things like that. So going back to what I kind of said before, my job is to kind of be the filter, whether it's for the performance coaches on that side and giving them the data they need to make the best programming, or be the filter for the parents and coaches to say, hey, this is something we really need to address, something we need to fix, and we need to spend it with more targeted rehab, more detailed therapy, and I'm going to send you to our physical therapist. So I'm kind of that person that people can come and ask questions about anything sport related, anything athletically. I'm going to guide you to the right people to take care of you. So that's kind of my job.
Yeah, that's really cool. You're like the sports science guys of Louisville, Kentucky, and
Yeah,
some of you may
yeah.
not be old enough to know that TV show, but that was on a while ago where
Yeah.
they would compare the forces of the FBI raiding a front door versus Ray Lewis, pummeling a door jam down. And so essentially, you're doing that for the athletes, both at the high school, collegiate, and professional level, and even some of the middle schoolers too. Correct?
Yeah, so we see a wide variety of clients here at Empower Six, professional athletes, collegiate athletes that are in town, in the off season, doing off season training. We've partnered with a few high schools doing that as well. And then most recently, yes, with middle school athletes with their teams. So actually tomorrow we have a baseball team coming in. We're going to sign them up and then do a lot of the baseline testing on the valve force decks. And then my job is to get the data. I'm gonna create a spreadsheet and then have that available to the coaches and to the parents so they can track their progressions and things like that. So, yeah.
You bring up a good point there. One of the challenges that we've talked about before is like we've got all this data and we got all this good information, and we think we do a phenomenal job. But what do you do with that data, and how do you communicate that to coaches and parents? So like, what are some of the goals or strategies for which you guys are going to implement that, or what would you like to see in an ideal world? Because man, that's a lot of moving parts. Like parents are involved with their athlete; they want the best for them. Coaches want to know when can they get on the field. Like, do they have injuries? Like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think having a really good team is definitely the first thing that comes to mind. So right now we're working through this. Still, it's a brand new kind of service line. We're still having meetings about it, figuring things out. But essentially, like my job is to work with the performance coaches here at Empower Six, and also our physical therapist, so Tommy as well. So I'm getting data, I'm getting information from the athletes, and then if I feel like let's say they have an old injury or something that's kind of holding them back now from training or competing at a high level, then my job is to say, hey, we may need to refer you for an injury evaluation screen with Tommy, or if it's something that we can kind of work through, then maybe just give some exercise prescription to the performance coaches. So I'm kind of like the filter in that sense. So I'll filter the data, I filter the stuff that I'm hearing from the parents and coaches. And then my job is to, put that in an easy way for the parents to understand, for the performance coaches to understand, and kind of help navigate, their process as an athlete. So, yeah.
That's awesome. As you said, it's a very evolving role, and it sounds like you guys are, you have all of the equipment and everything that you need. You got the right staff and everything in place to make that happen. What's the message that you'd like to send to athletic trainers? Because I know our role is unique in that, we're not the athletic trainer for some of the high schools of the athletes that we work with. So what's a message you want to send to them, or how would you, communicate to them about what we do and how it adds value to them and doesn't necessarily take away from what they're doing on the field?
Right. So that's a great question. So the first thing that comes to mind is, I have been in their position as a traditional athletic trainer at the high school level. My job essentially is to kind of just take some pressure off of them in decision making, right? So, the entire goal is to be collaborative, to work together, and we have the best interest in the athlete at the end of the day. So, in that setting, you're probably seeing, like I said, multiple different teams. They're kind of flowing through multiple different seasons. And I just remember kind of just feeling overwhelmed and overloaded with just taping alone, getting the sideline set up for games, talking to parents and coaches about athlete status, things like that. So my intention behind all of this is to kind of have a place that an AT can send an athlete to get data on things that they may not be completely sure of, or maybe the parents and coaches are not sure if this athlete is 100% ready for a game, or they just want a second opinion. I want to be able to kind of provide that, offload to their busy schedule and help them out with that. So that's the ultimate intention behind it. And that's the message I would give an AT. Like, I used to be in that position. I used to think I could handle every single injury, every single thing going on, and it's just hard. So let us kind of help you take some of that pressure off, and let's collaborate and work together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing the excitement in your voice, and it sounds like from what you've told us so far that a lot of these things that you're doing now are things that you had envisioned when you got into the field of athletic training, that you didn't just want to be on the field trying to help somebody after the injury, but you wanted to be, excuse me, in a position where you could help them before they ever have that injury and help them get back to the field quicker. So it's super cool to hear that, a childhood dream is essentially coming to fruition here, and you guys have everything in play to make that happen. At AptivaHealth.com, you have 24/7 access to an orthopedist who can help you get evaluated and figure out what you need, what direction you need to go, hopefully save you time and money from going to the ER. And so it's nice to hear that athletic trainers are not just injury experts, that you guys are evolving, and that you specifically, AP, that you using that sports science degree that you're earning to apply to the injury prevention and sports performance side that actually elevates somebody's baseline. So even if they do sustain an injury, they're going to be able to get back on the field quicker because they're moving properly. They've got the right functional mechanics, and they're prepared to take on that kind of stress when they, get exposed to the sport.